Dolly Mamas has been on Queen Bitch, which was a sitcom in the 90s. You have been on Where Women Create. You have been on the latest issue of Art Dolls magazine. So tell us a little bit how you got started.
Well, I got started because when I got married and moved to the suburbs and had my baby, Zoe, I wanted to stay home and be a mom. And I realized that I'm not very good at it. And I needed something more than baby talk. And so I decided to create something out of nothing.
Uh-huh.
I was at that point, well, what happened really is I went into this fabulous little store in my town. And I was one of those artists that said, oh, I could do that. Oh, I can make that. Oh, I can make that. But I never made anything. I just talked a big talk about I can make all this stuff that other artists made. And the owner heard me because I'm not very quiet and said, oh, you make things? And before I could say, no, I don't. No, I don't. My ex-husband at the time said, though he was my husband at the time, said, oh, yeah, she can make anything. And so she said, listen, we need some jewelry displays made for a window. And so I said, okay. And I've always been the kind of girl who jumps in the water and then figures out how to swim. So I went home and figured out how to make wire jewelry displays. And that's how I started my first company, Live Wire. And from there, I started designing these long, lanky women. And one of the guys at the show said, why don't you make them out of metal? And I thought, well, okay. So I went to Home Depot and bought some roof flashing and hand painted them and went to the show. And it became the biggest thing, you know, because I was making something I loved. I wasn't making it to sell it. I was making it for me, you know, for my insecurities. And that was it. That was it.
That's great. Okay, I want to show some of your work right now so we can discuss a little bit about your creative process. But before I show that, I want to ask you, what inspires you when you're creating?
What inspires me? It depends. It could be something like looking outside the window and seeing this bird. And then, oh my God, it's the bird. Or it could be a piece of vintage fabric. You know?
Cool. That's cool. Okay, let's see some pictures.
Okay.
Can you see this one?
Yes, yes, the cookie. That's a cookie jar.
When did you create that?
I created that, oh my gosh, it could have been 6, 7 years ago. And that was before I knew Photoshop. So I literally had to hand draw it, screw it up, hand draw it again, screw it up. Yeah, that was cool. It's cool when you have something you design in your head on paper, and then when it's sent to a manufacturer for licensing, they put it into 3D.
Yes.
You know, blows my mind. To this day, it still blows my mind. I'm in awe of the artists that take what I do and make it more magnificent.
Now, we are seeing a card, and you won several awards related to cards, correct?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've been doing greeting cards. Funny thing is, I got my first licensing contract, oh gosh, 17 years ago or so. And that's my new stuff. And when Picture came and said, we'd love to do female humor, it's not really out yet. Are you interested? And I said, sure. And so they said, you have to do 12 Dolly Mama cards or 24, I can't remember. And I'm like, sure. I didn't know how to draw Dolly Mamas. It took me all day to do one drawing. So it's funny to see my art, and I'm embarrassed by my original art, which.
Now, it's interesting that in your blog you say, I create art for licensing. Why you didn't start like, I'm an artist?
Repeat that. When did I what?
On your blog, you say, I create art for licensing.
Yes.
But why didn't you start with, I'm an artist? Is there a reason behind that?
You know, my dad said I came out of my mother with a crayon in my hand. So I've always been decorating and sewing and making jewelry. And, you know, for me, Barbies wasn't about playing with Barbies. It was like making her outfits fabulous. And, decorating her apartment. And I have to pick up the puppy because she keeps barking. Hold on for it.
Oh, yeah, and you can show the puppy because she's super cute.
Lady, come here. Can you say hi? She's like, yeah, I can't. I'm shy. I've always been an artist, but not until recently, in my 50s, can I really say I'm an artist and not be embarrassed because I wasn't taught. I wasn't trained to be, I didn't go to school for it. I mean, I remember I went to college and everyone's like, oh, you're so talented. You're so talented. And I went to college, my first art class, my little portfolio, and I was like all proud. And the teacher said, everyone take out your portfolio. Let's see what you have so we know what we're, dealing with. And everyone took out this magnificent work, years and years of trained work. And there I was with my dinky little drawings. And I literally packed up my drawings, put them back into my little black case, and I walked out. Never went back to an art class ever again. Yeah. So I guess the longer answer is not until my 50s can I really say I'm an artist.
I ask you that exactly because we hear that every day, how sometimes it's hard for people to embrace the fact that they are artists. And you mentioned not until your 50s. We had Beverly Oliwa here a few weeks ago, and she said she started calling herself an artist at 60. So it is a process that is usually not easy for people to say, okay, I not only create, but I am an artist. Right. And maybe because we are waiting for validation of a certificate or a diploma or something. I want to talk about licensing. Before we do that, I want to show a few more pieces that you have created.
Sure.
I know you love coffee.
Which is funny because I've made a lot of money selling Christmas ornaments and tea things, and I don't drink tea and I'm Jewish.
Let's see another one.
Yeah,
that's an ornament, right?
I'm telling you.
You know what I just realized, this second? I actually have a purse with a Dolly Mama. Yes. And if I had connected those two, I would have brought today because I wear that all the time. I think it says something like I'm addicted to shopping or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah, now I looked at the ornament and said, oh my gosh, I have one. It's a purse. Okay, one more. Yeah, actually, it looks really like the one we are going to show now. Or not. Okay, there it goes.
Okay, this is very cool because the story behind this, and I don't know if the left and right is backwards. So I'll take the green, the Dolly Mom with the metal, the green. That was one of my original drawings. If you flip her back, she's all rusted in the back because that was done with the roof flashing. The one in the middle is when I started manufacturing Dolly Mamas by myself, and I hired girls to come, and we had like a whole production line going on with stamping and painting. The third Dolly Mama, the one that's got the bow in the hair and all the extra doodads, that was a licensed Dolly Mama with a company called Silvestri. So there's the morph of, starting with my original one that's a mask down to the licensed one. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And this one?
The pillow that I did at Art Doll, they are such a pain in the you-know-what to stuff. I thought to myself, okay, there's got to be another way. So I had canvas, and I thought, why don't I just cover canvas with duck cloth and do the same thing? And then I added the fake eyelashes because I was in this fake eyelash thing. But I'm really bad at putting on fake eyelashes because I can't see up close. So I said, I'll put them on the dolls. It's easier. So, yeah, I love her.
That's cool. Now, so you started creating and then selling pieces, and then it looks like you had some people helping you cut the Dolly Mamas. How the licensing happened in the process?
Well, what happened was we were doing so well with manufacturing ourselves, and I had a guy who laser cut the metal and then somebody who primed them. So they came to me just white. And somebody said, you should do the gift show. And New York was the big gift show at the time, not Atlanta. So we lived close enough, and I thought, I got nothing to lose. Let's invest in this. So we had a little tiny booth, and it got so busy in our booth, and the economy was great at the time, so that had a lot to do with it. Buyers were coming in and literally filling out their own forms. I mean, there was just the two of us, and we just couldn't even handle it. And these two women came in, Edie and Linda, and they're like, we're from Silvestri. Would you like to, would you be interested in licensing your Dolly Mamas? And I have no idea what that meant, but it sounded good. So I said, sure. And then I found out what it meant was I designed one of everything. And then I hand it to the manufacturer, and then it's not my problem anymore, which is great for me because I get bored so easily. And then they take care of it. And that's how licensing started for me. And then they asked me to dress up like a Dolly Mama and tour around America doing art signings. So I'm like, wait a second. I get to dress up and wear pink wigs. Sure, and you're going to pay me money? Sure.
I could do that without money.
It was like a dream come true.
So even you were licensing the products, they of course were taking care of manufacturing, but you still had to do the promotion part on your own, or would they help you?
Well, at that point, I was still manufacturing because I wasn't sure how licensing. I didn't know there was money to be made in licensing because, well, I never knew what licensing was. So we were still doing our local shows and selling to art galleries at I think they were $75 retail. And Silvestri, when they finally came out, and my first check was ridiculous. I mean, it was like $75,000 for one quarter, which is unheard of, but it was way back in the day. And I thought, well, I'm going to retire. I mean, one quarter, 75,000. So I was like, I'm doing a new kitchen. And, like I said, the economy was great, and we did 4 shows: Atlanta, New York, Chicago, somewhere else I can't remember. So 4 times a year they'd send me out to these shows, and we'd dress up, and then in between that, the sales reps would hire me to go to different stores and dress up and do art signings. And we didn't have internet; was pretty new. Facebook wasn't around. Instagram wasn't around. So we did the old-fashioned way. Yeah. We went out there and schmoozed. Yeah.
Talk to people.
So fun.
Now, explain to me in the licensing process, you create, of course, the design. But, of course, then, like you said, it gets out of your hand. And every time something gets out of our hand, there is less control in the process. Were you okay with that, or how was the process for you?
A couple of things. I'm a control freak, so I have a hard time letting go of things, and I have trust issues. So, that was hard. But then I had to realize that if you're a manufacturer of ceramics and you design ceramics, you must know ceramics. So I had to let go and trust other people. But in your contract, you should make sure that you get first approval of your design. So I hand design it on paper, and then it goes to the manufacturer. The manufacturer, let's say if it's in China, designs a 3-dimensional, let's say it's a coffee cup. They will then send me pictures. So I can say, well, this is off, or that is off, or the nose is too flat, or, I can tweak it. And then once I sign off the approval, then, you're good to go. But there are times, classic. I designed a Snowman Cookie Jar. So it was, looked like it was a snow lady. So it was a snow lady with vintage glasses and, the carrot nose, and she was all in white. And then her base, is clear where you can, glass where you can put the cookie jar. It came, and I don't even know how this got through because I approved it white. It came back with a Caucasian snowman. So it does happen sometimes. What are you going to do?
But you still have almost the final say in each piece then.
I'm sorry, what?
You have a final say. You can say, no, this is wrong, or
yes,
I don't want that way.
You're in your contract, you do have final say. Because if you don't have final say, they can pretty much take your design and do whatever they want with it. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But I've learned the hard way.
How long ago did you start your licensing deals?
My first licensing deal was in 2001.
2001, so about 16 years.
Yeah.
And with how many companies do you have licensing deals?
Oh my God, how many companies through the years?
Let me get my book here.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, menopausal brain, I can't remember what I said 5 minutes ago.
But you have more than one.
A lot. I mean, it's been a lot. And there are ones that I didn't work out for me or didn't work out for them so much. And you let those go and you pick up new ones. Yeah.
Okay, so things were going okay with licensing, but then the recession hit. Did that impact you at all or not?
It took years. I mean, the recession came and I was making really good money. Bradford, which was the Christmas ornaments, it was ridiculous. The checks were ridiculous. I mean, and by then I was divorced and I thought, well, I'm going to buy myself a big house, so I could say I, as a single divorced woman, could buy my own house. So I did that. And then the recession came and I'm like, oh, I'm still fine. And then all of a sudden it caught up with me. So I forgot what you asked me.
Well, how did the recession impact your...
Yes. So, I mean, the greeting, you know what, in greeting cards, the internet came along and people weren't spending money on greeting cards, which was one of my big checks still. So that hard. And then Silvestri, one of my other large companies, they were sold and, people were buying and selling companies and we all kind of got lost. And then with manufacturers were making some crap, really. And I didn't know what to do. So you reinvent yourself. And sometimes you have to, as an artist, you will have great years. And then there are years that, you're not so great. And that's okay. That's just okay. It's just the way it is. I love what I do. So it's okay when I don't need to eat all the time. It's not a big deal. It's overrated.
Before I show more pictures, one of our viewers, Bree, is asking, how long is a commons licensing contract?
2 to 3 years, because you cannot go shorter, because if I'm designing something today, it will take most likely a year and a half before it ends up in a store. Because it's got to go through it could take a couple months just to go back and forth the contract. People don't work so fast, Yeah, so 2 years minimum, 3 years if you're confident that it's a good contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before you tell me what are the things we need to be careful about, if, as an artist, we are thinking about license, I want to show the pillows. Bree said, love the pillow. And these were the ones that were in the Art Doll magazine, correct?
Yes.
And you created just for them, or is this something that you try to make all the time?
This was done for me because of my insecurities of being an artist. I don't think I'm good enough. And why does anybody care what I have to say? Blah, blah. So one day I decided, and because I wasn't trained in painting, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to try painting. And in a more dimensional way. So I decided I'll get I had some painter's cloth. And I just started doing them for myself. And then it was funny because when I was in Where Women Create for my studio, I had sent some photos. And I don't even remember sending this. And so when I was contacted by Art Doll Quarterly, they said, oh, somebody had sent this to us. We'd love to do an article. And I'm like, I don't remember sending this.
Oh, boy.
So it was kind of cool. And then through that, you contacted me, which was amazing.
That's cool.
I can tell you. So, I'm going through my insecurity head today, getting ready to talk to you. And a woman, I don't know if she's a girl or a woman, emailed me today about the pillow. She said she loved the article and it inspired her. She's a new artist and inspired her. And she made 2 pillows
to
give to her friends. And I thought, that's why I do what I do.
That's cool.
If you touch one other person, and then she's a hospice nurse, so God bless her for doing what she does, I'm good.
I agree with you. I think if you can inspire one person to create something, when we live in a world that is so divided, there's so much anger, if a person creates something, it's going to make herself and somebody else smile. And that is worth So it is worth creating for others to inspire in what we do. I think we shouldn't be too protective of that. Let's show one more piece. This one is one of your wire.
This I did a couple of years ago. A friend of mine, Linda and Edie had contacted me about, let's design a new product line. And I'm all about designing anything new. So my goal was to only design with what I had in the house. So what's in my studio. I wasn't going to buy anything. So this is one of the pieces I designed from the crap I've been collecting for 50 years. This is also because God knows I have a lot of wire from having live wire. So this was something else I designed. Yeah. Oh, this is a woman. Love this woman. She was one of the first writers for the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And she contacted me and said, I want you to do my book cover for my memoir. Let me tell you, Shahar, you would love this book because it's our generation. I mean, she's a little older than me. She'll kill me that I said that. But she has slept with everybody or knows stories about everybody. Her memoir is fabulous. And it's all about being a writer in a male industry. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's fantastic. The 60s, we can never tell too much about our story.
Well, I don't remember a lot of them.
Yeah, that's true. You know, it's funny that you mentioned Mary Tyler Moore because I used to watch every single episode. And at that moment in time, she was so independent for a woman concerning the society we had at that point. So it's amazing. Now, concerning licensing, if people are thinking about this, if this is an opportunity in their lives, what are the things they should be worried about? Like you mentioned, part of the contract, having some control over the final product. What else?
I say don't worry and take chances and make mistakes. I mean, I've lost $100,000 on a loose contract, and I hired a very expensive lawyer. And then they found a loophole. It happens. You know, it's a hard industry now because back when I started, there wasn't a lot. Mm-hmm. There weren't a lot of licenses. It was a lot easier to get into. It's a lot harder now. I don't think the money's where it used to be, and who knows if ever will be. If you can manufacture yourself, you'll make more money. Licensing does make it easier because a lot of time I could never mass manufacture ceramics for myself. Mm-hmm. That'd be way out of my crazy comfort zone. But I say, you know, if you've got a line that's great, put it out there. You can contact manufacturers. You can go online and Google, you know, manufactured, you know, licensing, or go to your, let's say you want to do rubber stamps, go to your local craft store and look at rubber stamps and just see who the manufacturer is. And then you can contact them directly, make it short and sweet, send a couple low-res photos of your work, and be persistent. Mm-hmm. Be persistent. That's you know, amazing. And don't worry when people say, no, it's not for me, because that does not mean it's not for anybody. It's just not for them. And it might not be for them this year. It might be for them next year. You just don't know.
I just watched a movie called Big Eyes. I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, my God, I love that movie.
Tim Burton is the director. And that's exactly what happens at the beginning. Well, there's a whole story around it. But one of the things was going with the paintings to a gallery and the guy thinking that was trash.
Yeah.
And he became...
That's just one person's opinion. And you don't know if you got them on a bad day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You just look at, J.K. Rowling. Is it Harry Potter?
Yes.
I think 27. Wasn't it like 27, you know, said this book isn't going to go anywhere. So... Mm-hmm.
If I'm not wrong, you mentioned Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's exactly what happened when he was trying to sell the first one.
Oh, I didn't know.
A bunch of no's. Yeah. So it happens to all of us. And the no is not to us, right? There are many reasons there. Okay, so first, Aubrey Corbetto is saying, this is so pretty about your work. And it's really nice. So you started, well, you started making art, you started manufacturing, then you went into licensing. That was about 15 or 16 years ago. Tell me about your today. How is your business today? What are your plans? What are you doing?
You know, I went through a couple years, and it could have been, those are my perimenopausal years, where, you know, business wasn't as great, and you know, the old computer went, you suck. What are you doing? Go get a job at Starbucks, which I would not mind because I love Starbucks.
Yeah, you like coffee and chocolate, right? Is that correct?
That's true.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, enough of your pity party, Joey. Get your crap together and let's just reinvent. You know, so I started like the black and white Dolly Mama you saw. That's more of a new thing. I got an iPad with the pencil, you know, you can draw. That has opened a world for me because you don't have to worry about making mistakes. I'm still hand drawing, but I can fix it without having to start over again. And then I decided after years of, yes, I should, no, I shouldn't, to get an agent. Which everyone said, Joey, you don't need it. You have a big mouth. You've got a chutzpah. You don't need it. But you know what? It was the best thing I ever did. Suzanne Cruz is phenomenal, and she's gotten me a lot of new contracts that I never would have thought of. You know, a fabric line that's coming out. And
so explain to us what an agent for an artist is. Because everybody is used to actors have agents, right? That's a no-brainer. They understand.
Right.
How do they work with artists? And just before you answer, Tammy is saying that she loved that movie too.
Such a good movie. Yes, having an agent means they do all the crappy work, and I get to draw and design and make things. With an agent, she has all the connections. So I have a lot of connections. Look, my foot was already in the door. I'm established. It's easier for me to get work than it is for somebody starting out. Having an agent, you know, you don't need your foot in the door. I mean, it was probably a little bit easier for her to get me work because people knew me and I already could say, hey, because all they care about is the money. Manufacturers want to make money.
Correct.
But the agent, she'll say to me, okay, Joey, I've got a fabric connection. I think they would be a very good match for you. Please design a line of fabric with Dolly Mamas and funny sewing sayings. And then do some, you know, little sewing doodads and make some patterns. And I'm like, okay, so I do that. And I sent it to her and she sent it to a fabric manufacturer. And then, you know, a month later, I got a contract. And then she'll say, okay, Joey, cocktail napkins. I know you're licensed with Pictura. Do you have other stuff that's not anything to do with Dolly Mamas? Okay, so I'll just create something new. So having an agent has pushed me outside my comfort zone, which is wonderful. And that's what she does. She handles all the contracts. I don't have to deal with all the paperwork and the big lawyer verbiage. And so she handles the contract. I mean, they take half of your set, you know, whatever you make, they get half of it. But it was worth it for me. At this point in my life, it was worth it.
And they're probably doing a lot of things that most artists really don't want to do, right?
Absolutely. Because, I mean, for me, I'm very... what is it, right-brained? And yeah, I have a left brain. I don't like using it. So my agent's my left brain. And because Suzanne she was an artist who then became an agent for licensing for art, she gets us. So, and most of them, I think, in the licensing genre probably were. Yeah. So
that's cool. How long do you spend creating today?
Oh my gosh. It could be 8 hours in my studio and then, you know, we'll cook dinner and then sit in front of the TV and I'll take my iPad that I was working on something and
start drawing.
That's, you know, it's work, but it's not work for me. So I love doing it. And it's kind of zen, you know, because you know, when you're drawing and you're not worrying about making mistakes, it's like a meditation. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Fantastic. Okay. One more question for you. What keeps your creativity in focus?
Wow. I start a project and it doesn't work out. And then I go through the I suck. And then I get a cup of coffee and I get back to my studio and I stop fighting myself and stop thinking about, well, what does the manufacturer want? What does the woman I'm selling to want? And I go, stop, do it for yourself. And once I do that and I let all that go, it just happens. It just, if you stop listening, and I probably should, am I allowed to say a little bitty swear word?
Yeah.
Okay. If I stop listening to the itty bitty shitty committee in my head.
I have that too.
Yeah. And you just shut her up. And just be. And just let it come out. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. Some of my worst drawings became my best work once I stopped fighting myself and my work. Yeah.
I think the creative process in itself sometimes questions our soul all the time. And we start doubting about everything we do. And that gets in the way big time.
Yeah. Well, because we're raised that, you shouldn't be an artist. That's a hobby. And we're supposed to be busy all the time and you have to be making money and you don't have time to be fluffing around with artwork. And no, that's not correct. Because once we can be at peace with creating and being proud of it, the money comes. Once it comes.
So you mentioned the fact of, self-esteem and questioning, but you also say the money comes. So when you, at a point in time, you were there selling shows, and then things start growing, and you start seeing the potential of the money out there. Of course, with the licensing, you said, wow, this can go 10 times, 20 times what I do today. How scared were you at that point, or were you scared, or were you always the kind of girl that thinks very big and nothing is a challenge?
I am frightened beyond belief all the time, but I don't let my fear stop me. I mean, our first show, set up the whole show. I had all my, Dolly mamas, and I was so afraid that nobody would like them that I scared buyers away. And my husband at the time sent me out. He's like, leave the booth. Just leave the booth. Oh, it wasn't with the Dolly Mamas. It was with Live Wire. But, leave the booth. So I left the booth and I shopped other artist booths. And he sold my stuff. And, I'm always scared. I mean, but you got to face your fears. Yeah. Because if you don't, you'll just be stuck your whole life. And life's too short. I mean, life's just too short to face your fears. I just take a couple deep breaths and just go, I got nothing to lose. And especially, at our age, do you find like, if I knew what I knew now then, I could probably rule the world. Yeah. Because what am I afraid of? That somebody's going to say, you suck. Okay, so what? Yeah. So what? So you don't like me. That doesn't mean I don't like me. It just means you don't. And if you don't like me, that's fine. Go away.
I think the biggest nightmare is exactly paying too much attention to what other people think about you. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a theater author called Jean-Paul Sartre, and I read that in Portuguese, so the translation might be wrong, but he used to say that hell is the eyes of the others.
Ooh, that's
meaning
good.
that, if you're paying too much attention of what they think of you or what they think about what you say, you don't move. Yeah. It can really stop you on your feet.
No, it's true. It's very true. And you hear it your whole life, everyone's like, you shouldn't do this. And why'd you do that? And blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you go crazy. Tammy Eversledge is saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's a good motto to live by.
So true. And it really does work. I mean, there are times I've been so petrified, I thought, I'm just going to pass out right here. But You know, and if you think of all the horrible, embarrassing things, and trust, okay, when I was on Oprah, I made the biggest ass out of myself. And one day I meet her again and tell her my story because she's the only person in the world who has ever shut me up. And not because she did anything. I shut me up because I was petrified because it was Oprah. So I have made complete ass out of myself numerous times in my life. And guess what? Does it mean anything? Mm-hmm. No. No. And I promise I'll do it again. It's
Well, I read a comment on your feed the other day that I think you shaved your hair for a TV appearance.
Well, we were on vacation and bored. And we saw this older woman with really, really short hair. And I'm like, that's really cool. And I was in my 30s. And my husband at the time said, I double dog dare you to do it. And I'm like, crap, give me a razor. Shave my head. Ooh. My daughter wouldn't speak to me for like 2 weeks. Well, after I shaved my head, I went, oh, crap. I'm going to be on TV on the Carol Duvall show. Ooh. In like 2 weeks. What the hell am I going to do? So I did what mothers do with little babies who have no hair when they're girls. You know, you stick a little pink bow. I stuck a little pink bow and I went on the air. Oh, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Let me tell you, me with no hair, I look like my father without a goatee. It's not a pretty look. Not a pretty look.
You know, I really think we could be best friends. Many years ago, my daughter was about 4 years old, and I was working on TV commercials, and I think I dyed my hair. I don't even remember the color. It was red or something. And I get home, and she starts crying, and I say, what's wrong? And she said, I want my mom with the blue hair back. And my ex-husband went, don't you see anything wrong with what's going on?
No. So, it's an artist. I think we just see the world in a very amazing way.
Joey, any final advice for artists that are out there and, maybe they're struggling about calling themselves artists, or they're trying to go to another level and sell more of their art? What would you tell them?
Take risks. Don't be afraid. If you, in your heart, like in your soul, love what you do, put it out. Put it out in the world, because you'll touch one person. Mm-hmm. And that one person touches somebody else. And it's just paying it forward. And I have to remind myself that every day, because I design something and go, I suck, So yeah, just if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, I can't help you. But if you're doing it from your soul and you love what you do, just put it out there for the world, because isn't that what it's all about? Just connecting with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have so many more ways to do that today that we should explore. Yeah. I have one more question for you from Dulce Corrales. What steps would you advise someone starting to make artworks now do beyond creating art to get recognized? So tell us a little bit about the marketing side of this. I think that's what she's asking.
Yeah, I struggle with this every day because, like you, when, I started in advertising, we had blue repo pens, and you cut and pasted your words to create, an advertisement. This day and age, between Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and I am clueless, absolutely clueless, because I was established before any of this became. I think the younger generation knows more than we do. I say ask your kid. Yeah. I really do. I know I just posted, and I didn't even know how I did it, one of the black and white Dolly mamas on Instagram. And I was afraid to do it because I thought, what if people don't like it? And I'm like, stop. Because it got so many replies. I was like, well, there you go. Lesson learned. And that took off on its own. I haven't even manufactured these black and white Dolly mamas yet, and they already took off on their own. So I said, just put it out there on all these, platforms, I guess they're called, right? Honestly, I think you can answer that better than I can.
Well, I think it still takes a lot of work, Joey. Different tools than what we had before, but I think actually before we would have to reach people going there. Like you said, you go to trade shows, you go promote. Today, we have these amazing tools that actually cut the costs out a lot. They're not free. It's foolish to think they are free. But they help us get the word out if we are open. I think people can watch you and they know right away that you're not going to hold barrels. You're going to say what you think. If you have to swear, you swear. You're yourself. And I think that's what everybody is looking for. Can I find somebody real that is not over-polished, over-edited, over-fake? And if I can find those people, I can create a relationship. It might be a virtual relationship, but then they become your ambassadors. And that's the beauty of social media, because the word can spread a lot faster than before. So we have to take advantage of that, but we need to understand what they want and how they want. And they don't want anything over-polished, over-taken care. And unfortunately, many people in our age range, they think, oh, everything needs to be perfect, from the light, from my background, from what I say. And actually, that ends up getting in the way instead of helping. You have to be real.
Well, I think, you see, I think that was a great answer. And I have to say, you had said about reaching other people and connecting. And what happens is that, at least for me as an artist, which is a big problem, is, my studio is in my home. So I get up and I make my coffee and I'm in my pajamas, sometimes with a bra, sometimes without, in my studio creating all day. And if I don't get out of the house, which unfortunately I'm okay with, I'm lost. I don't know where my stuff is sold. I don't know who owns my stuff, who doesn't. And I've disconnected myself. And so I think what you just said is really important, is to, connect. Like now I have this wonderful connection with you, where if you didn't push for us to do this, I would have just said, I don't need anybody. I don't, I'm going to keep myself in a safe bubble where nobody can hurt me and I can't hear anything negative. And so I thank you for people like yourself who push and because of this, who knows where this will go or what we might do together.
You never know the network you're reaching, which you may be able to do some years ago, but today you don't. You never know who's watching you and what's going to happen. And amazing things happen many times. Yeah,
it's true. And so I think what you just said was great advice, and something I really need to do more myself is get connected through Facebook or through Instagram. I don't even know how to answer it. Can you even answer anybody Instagram?
Yeah, it's not my favorite tool either, but you have to experiment and you have to use everything that is out there, and then one of them will talk to you and then you stick.
Yeah. And I think you're right. And it's funny because I have to tell you, it's kind of silly when we finally connected so we can see each other. And all I kept thinking is, like, I don't usually do is it FaceTime on your phone?
Yeah.
Because all I do is look at my neck. I can't even hear what you're saying because I'm too obsessed with my neck. And I thought, this is what's going to happen when I'm talking to you. I'm not going to hear you because I'm going to be looking at my neck. But the good news is the picture of me is so tiny, I can't see it.
Well, at least you can worry about your neck. What about me? I don't have one. What's the big deal?
It's Joey, so funny because you were just saying we're so obsessed over everything has to be perfect. And no, because life isn't perfect. Your artwork isn't perfect. What I designed 5 years ago, I'm appalled over. Like, oh my God, I can't believe somebody's wearing something. That's disgusting. Take it off.
That's cool. Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much for being here today, Joey. If people want to connect with you and know more about the story and what you create, where they can go?
My website, which is theartofjoey.com. And I have a contact. You can email me, or you can email me at dollymamas@aol.com. I always answer everybody back because I am in awe that people will take time out of their crazy lives to, email me. So you'll always get an email back from me. Yeah.
And I'm glad you do, because that's how we connected. Okay, again, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. Guys, as you know, this video stays on Facebook, on YouTube, on Periscope, everywhere on our blog. So if you think this content can help another artist, please share. and tell them, watch the Dolly Mama. She's so famous and she's so cool. And they get to spend an hour with her and with me as well. So thank you so much. We do appreciate your time here with us. Next week, we have another Creativity in Focus. So be sure to check it out. We try to go 2:30 every day, but sometimes technology gets in the way. We come a little later, but we come. So I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Thank you very much.